Here are the top stories for today, August 9, 2019. The Philippine National Police urges leftist groups to answer allegations of parents that they are recruiting minors. President Duterte says he's open to use the controversial Dengvaxia vaccine to stop the dengue epidemic in the country. The Chinese embassy expresses concern over violations of rights of Chinese nationals in the proposed pogo hub for foreign workers. And over 18 families are reported to be affected by incessant monsoon rains.
Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. In light of the disappearance of minors allegedly recruited by communist fronts, the PNP urged leftist groups to face authorities and answer the issues. Meanwhile, Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa said schools should cooperate with the government in preventing the infiltration of communist rebels. Gigi Arcilia Agtay has the story.
PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde urged communist-linked groups on Thursday to answer the allegations made by parents of the minors who went missing shortly after being allegedly recruited by their front groups. This came after one of the parents, Mrs. Relisa Lucena, became emotional during a Senate hearing on Wednesday as she told the story of her missing daughter who was believed to have been recruited by leftist group Anak Bayan. Albayalde also lashed out at Anak Bayan for accusing the government and the AFP as the culprits behind the missing children. He expressed concern that these children might already be hiding in the mountains. Meanwhile, Senator Ronald de la Rosa floated the idea of compelling state-run universities to fully cooperate with security forces to ensure there is no presence of radical groups that indoctrinate students into the communist ideology. The senator wants the University of the Philippines and the Polytechnic University of the Philippines school administration to allow the army and police to enter the campus for educational forum. He complained how the schools prohibited government instrumentalities from giving education to their students while allowing communists inside their campus. During the Senate hearing, the parents said their children joined the League of Filipino Students, Anak Bayan, and Kabataan Party List Group. On August 1, the PNP Criminal Investigation and Detection Group has filed kidnapping and other charges against Anak Bayan National Chairman Vencer Crisostomo and Anak Bayan Secretary General Einstein Resedes in connection with a missing 17-year-old FEU senior high school student. While police forces are already allowed to patrol regularly in the campus, PUP President Emmanuel de Guzman said the PUP Board of Regents shall convene to authorize these proposals first to avoid agitating the students. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Gigi Arcilia Agtay.
Tribal leaders on Thursday have told leftist organizations, including progressive group Bayan USA, to stop harassing people standing up for the truth. Datu Jacob Lanes of the Mindaya tribe from Davao City challenged leftist groups to listen to their narrative and stop shutting their stories down. He said leftist groups cannot claim what the real story of indigenous peoples is or who should be recognized as IPs. Lanes also fired back at the claims of Bayan USA that some of their PhilAm members visited marginalized groups in Mindanao, saying a few weeks of immersion is not enough. Lanes and 7 other members of the Mindanao Indigenous Peoples Council of Elders went to the United States for a speaking tour to rally the international community against the atrocities committed by the CPP-NPA. The leaders also submitted a formal complaint before the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights and the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. Bayan USA has condemned the speaking tour, while militant groups stormed their forums and disrupted their activities. Kabataan Party List Representative Sara Elagos' no-show at the Senate hearing that looks into the case of the missing minors allegedly recruited by militant group Bayan is being hit. Elago earlier said she was unable to attend the Senate hearing presided by Senator Ronald de la Rosa due to prior commitments and short notice. But for Major General Antonio Parlade Jr., Chief of National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict or NTF-LCAC, Elagos' excuse is sloppy. Parlade said the Senate hearing is tackling a very important issue about youth activism, and Elagos should be there to give her side on what academic freedom and protection of children's rights is for their group. Parlade also scored Elago and her organization for choosing to protest on the streets about non-existent issues like press freedom suppression and dictatorship when they were given the opportunity to tell their side of the story at the Senate. Another hearing is scheduled next week, and they are keeping an eye as to whether Elago will attend or not. The Department of National Defense, or DND, says that while recruiting minors is not new for the CPP-NPA-NDF, this shows that the terrorist group is desperate to gain forces and influence. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana said that the CPP-NPA-NDF is constantly trying to recruit or entice minors to join their ranks, especially now that the group have tremendously diminished in the past months. Lorenzana also pointed out that the communist movement does not have genuine concern for children or minors, as it only uses them as pawns, being in the front line since they were 14 or 15. These actuations are supported by former rebels who have availed of the government assistance under the Enhanced Comprehensive Local Integration Program and are undergoing psychosocial interventions. Displaced survivors of Super Typhoon Yolanda will soon be relocated to their resettlement homes. More on this and other news from the Metro, from Janice Cabe.
President Rodrigo Duterte is planning to appoint an official that would handle and supervise the country's airport security. This after U.S. Homeland Security lifts travel notice to NAIA following the significant improvements in the Philippine gateway security operations. Philippine Ambassador to the United States Jose Manuel Romualdez said the U.S. side appreciates Manila's efforts in implementing a much improved security measures at NAIA and is extremely pleased with our cooperation. The Philippine Coast Guard on Thursday said the investigation on the sinking of 3 passenger motor bangkas in the Iloilo-Guimaras Strait over the weekend will be finished this week. Based on the first-hand experience during a visit to Iloilo and Guimaras with other government officials on Wednesday, PCG spokesperson Captain Arman Balilo said the unpredictable weather condition in the region could be the major cause of the tragedy. Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles on Thursday said the government will start partial turnover of new and disaster-resilient resettlement homes for families displaced by Super Typhoon Yolanda in 2013. Nograles, who is also the head of the Interagency Task Force, said the National Housing Authority is expected to complete the entire housing project for the displaced Yolanda victims by 2020. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Still to come, President Duterte says he is open to use the controversial Dengvaxia vaccine to stop the dengue epidemic in the country. The Senate plans to look into the proposed ban on provincial buses in EDSA. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
We traveled this far as it has come to our attention that the communist terrorist personalities, disguised as human rights advocates, have also come here to promote the narratives of the communist terrorists. They have been lobbying before their senators and congressmen to demonize the Philippine government. They have been accusing the Philippine state forces of killings. Yes, our military and police killed, but not the indigenous peoples. Only members of armed rebellion wanting to replace the duly constituted government. In this case, allow me to ask a question. Should the state forces be held accountable?
Kaya nga ayaw naming talikuran ang gobyerno kasi nirecognize na kami bilang Pilipino. Yun namang mga leftist, mga bayan muna, Gabriela, kung ano-ano lang, ayaw nilang masettle na kami doon sa aming mga community. Ayaw nilang ma-develop ang community namin. Ang ginagawa pa nila, sinisira pa ang mga community namin.
Found their narrative very compelling, and the Duterte administration is very concerned about the welfare of the indigenous people because they comprise 14% of the Philippine population. Well, I'm very proud that they came out here and told their story. They're very courageous.
One is that their story must be told, which is what is happening right now. But secondly, also to be able to support their aspirations. Hindi ba, sabi nga ng Presidente, yung comfortable life for all, yan ang hinahanap natin. So, mahalaga rin na government side is, of course, to provide the services which the IPs can actually avail.
The government is eyeing to lift the ban on the dengue vaccine Dengvaxia to combat dengue in the country. This as President Rodrigo Duterte on Thursday said he is open to the use of Dengvaxia again after the Department of Health declared a national dengue epidemic due to the alarming rise of the mosquito-borne disease. Duterte admitted, however, that he remains in a quandary whether or not to lift the ban on the use of Dengvaxia. DOH Secretary Francisco Duque III on Tuesday declared a national dengue epidemic as the reported cases are 98% higher compared to the same period in 2018.
Yes, that's why I may wonder whether to allow Dengvaxia or not. Ako, I'd rather go on the side of science. If nobody would believe me, still I would say that if there's anything there in the Western medicine and even itong mga herbal ng Oriental, if it would mean saving people's lives, I'll go for it.
The French manufacturer Sanofi Pasteur is urged to reapply for a license for Dengvaxia before the government considers reintroducing the anti-dengue vaccine. Senator Richard Gordon on Thursday said the controversial Dengvaxia must undergo some process with the Food and Drug Administration before it could be reintroduced for private and public use. The Department of Health stopped its dengue immunization program using Dengvaxia in late 2017 after Sanofi Pasteur said patients who had no prior exposure to the dengue virus were at risk of more severe dengue. The government plans to reintroduce the vaccine to fight the dengue epidemic in various parts of the country. Gordon noted that the drug was already given a license during the previous administration. The process by which the manufacturer got was questionable. Iloilo 1st District Representative Jeanette Garin earlier appealed to the government to allow anew the use of Dengvaxia. Garin was health secretary when the government used Dengvaxia for the anti-dengue vaccination program of the administration of then-President Noynoy Aquino. Despite its slower growth this second quarter, the country's economy is likely to register a 6 to 6.5% growth this year. Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Ernesto Pernia on Thursday said the gross domestic product may still hit the government's 6 to 7% target for the year. To ensure this, Pernia called for the fast-tracking of infrastructure projects and passage of investment-oriented laws. Pernia earlier attributed last quarter's economic performance to the delay in the passage of the 2019 budget, coupled with a ban on spending leading up to the May elections. For the remainder of the year, Pernia noted that the government must speed up the implementation of infrastructure projects under the Build, Build, Build program. The NEDA chief also called for the timely passage of the national budget for 2020 so as not to derail next year's economic growth. He also called for cooperation from the private sector, especially in obligated PPP public-private partnership projects. The Senate Committee on Public Services is set to look into the proposed provincial bus ban along EDSA next Tuesday, August 13. Committee Chair Senator Grace Poe said transport officials would be invited to explain the traffic that has choked the busy highway. Poe said the traffic gridlock yesterday reportedly came amid the implementation of the yellow lane for buses and the dry run for the provincial bus ban on EDSA, which was meant to ease congestion. Poe said the proposed scheme should be thoroughly scrutinized, especially amid public clamor to suspend it and the legal questions raised by some groups before the courts. A writ of preliminary injunction was previously issued against a provincial bus ban in EDSA by the Quezon City Regional Trial Court. Baguio City security forces are said to be in place in case of a terror attack. Meantime, passengers in Negros Occidental are still on the receiving end on the rift of Johnson family over Ceres bus line. More on this from Janice Cabe.
Mayor Benjamin Magalong downplayed on Thursday the possible terror attacks in Baguio City, assuring that the region's security forces are on top of the situation. Magalong, the incoming Regional Peace and Order Council chairman, said both the military and the police have put in place necessary measures to counter any terrorist threat. While Baguio and the Cordillera were not mentioned, Magalong stressed the need for residents of Baguio to stay calm and be vigilant. In Davao del Norte, Asuncion Mayor Maria Teresa Timbol said the decision of former New People's Army members to return to the fold of the law will not be wasted as the government continues to bring development even to the far-flung areas of the country. Timbol, meanwhile, said the government should help cultural communities, the tribes, and indigenous peoples. She also warned the former rebels not to be deceived easily by the communist terrorist groups. In Negros Occidental, the LTFRB is investigating the suspension of the southbound bus trips of Valyacar Transit, the operator of Ceres Liner and Ceres Tours. The LTFRB urged both camps of the Johnson family on Wednesday afternoon not to let their infighting affect the riding public. As of Thursday evening, trips were still limited since not all bus units were able to park at the terminal. Policemen are manning the South Terminal and main office of Valyacar Transit amid the tension between the two camps of the Johnson family. According to PRO6 Chief Pamuspusan, they are only doing their duty in maintaining peace and order. Pamuspusan, together with PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde and other police officials, was named respondent in the injunction case filed by the four Johnson siblings. The case sought a temporary restraining order enjoining the officials to cease and desist from deploying policemen in the terminals and allegedly interfering with the bus company's issues. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Up next, the Chinese embassy expresses concern over violations of rights of Chinese nationals in the proposed pogo hub for foreign workers. Over 18,000 families are reported to be affected by continuous monsoon rains. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Ang amin pong mga karanasan ay hindi po maibigyan ng halaga. Doon namin nakita na kahit na nasa malayo ang mga kababayan natin, magkaugnay pa rin po tayo. Na iparamdam po nila sa amin na importante sa kanila yung buhay ng mga kapatid nila na tribo.
Naintindihan ko sila, biktima lang sila, pero gusto ko na makinig sila. Kasi doon ako nanggaling. Pero sila hindi makinig eh. Pupunta lang doon sa aming harap. Sigaw-sigaw, may lupa ba sila sa Mindanao? Na nakatira ba sila doon? Sila yung mga sinungaling. Kami, nagsasabi na kami ng totoo, yung karanasan namin. Ako yung namatayan ng 4 na uncle. Bakit kung nagsasalita ako, terorista na ako?
Marami po tayong biktima. Ang dami nating biktima. Hindi lamang po kami. Marami tayo. Sana po, suportahan nyo kami. Let's stand up. Let's be united para matapos na tong problema na for the past 50 years, yung nagpapahirap sa atin, wakasan na natin. Mawawakasan ito. Lahat tayong Pilipino, katutubo man, Muslim man. Lahat tayo sa gobyerno man, sa pribado man. Lahat tayo pag nagtutulungan, masusolusyonan, mawawakasan itong problema na matagal na naming nararanasan under the communist terrorists.
The Chinese embassy in Manila on Thursday expressed grave concern over a plan to transfer foreign workers of Philippine offshore gaming operations, or POGOs, in a separate community or hubs. In a statement, the embassy said the move may infringe on the basic legal rights of the Chinese citizens working in POGOs. PAGCOR Vice President Jose Tria earlier said foreigners working in POGOs will be transferred to self-contained communities to address complaints about the unruly behavior of some workers. The Chinese embassy also called on the government to punish gaming firms illegally recruiting and abusing Chinese nationals in the country. The embassy, however, admitted that most of the concerned Chinese were illegally recruited. For its part, Malacanang said unruly Chinese could be charged under the revised penal code. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said those allegedly abused should come forward and file a formal complaint against their employers. He assured that the government will not allow any violation of their rights as visitors or working foreigners in this country. The government rallied support from the members of the diplomatic corps in Manila on Wednesday to bolster the country's bid to host the United Nations World Tourism Organization General Assembly. Tourism Chief Bernadette Romulo Puyat appealed to foreign diplomats representing the member states of the Union Intramuros. Puyat says the Department of Tourism hopes to promote awareness for responsible tourism and travel and build a tourism sector that takes full account of its economic, social, and environmental impact. The Philippine government first floated its interest to host the UNWTO General Assembly last June. The country's bid is timed with the celebration of the quincentennial anniversary of the world's first circumnavigation in 1521, when Ferdinand Magellan's Spanish expedition arrived in Cebu. And in our foreign news, Nagasaki in Japan marked today the 74th anniversary of the U.S. atomic bombing on the city in World War II. The annual memorial ceremony was held at the Nagasaki Peace Park. Representatives of the bereaved families, along with representatives of the atomic bomb survivors and foreign guests, dedicated flowers to the deceased. Mayor Tomhisa Tawe read a peace declaration expressing belief that the atomic bombing will never happen again. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres also appealed in a message for the total elimination of nuclear weapons. Hiroshima earlier marked the 74th anniversary of the bombing on Tuesday, August 6. A memorial ceremony held at the city's Peace Memorial Park was attended by about 50,000 audiences. In a speech, Mayor Kazumi Matsui called on the government to join a UN treaty banning nuclear weapons. For his part, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said Japan's duty to eliminate nuclear weapons remains unchanged even in the Reiwa era. A uranium core atomic bomb dropped onto Hiroshima by a U.S. bomber exploded on August 6, 1945, killing about 140,000 people. Nagasaki was also hit by an atomic bomb on July 9, 1945, prompting Japan's surrender at the end of World War II. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Thursday unveiled a new fast-track visa plan to attract foreign scientists to boost the country's science sector after Brexit. The British Home Office and the Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy have been instructed to work with the scientific community to develop the new visa route, which the British government hopes to launch later this year. The proposals come after the Wellcome Trust, a leading charity and medical research institute, warned the Prime Minister that a no-deal Brexit threatened the science sector. The fast-track immigration route will be designed to attract researchers and specialists working in science, engineering, and technology. Options that the government could discuss with institutions include abolishing the 2,000 per year cap on the number of Tier 1 exceptional talent visas. Other potential changes include expanding the pool of British research institutions that can endorse immigration candidates. The government reaches out to Filipinos, even abroad, to empower them through new skills and competencies. In Singapore, Filipino workers learn digital literacy and how to use the internet to their advantage.
More than 200 overseas Filipino workers have acquired additional knowledge about the digital world after participating in a training workshop in Singapore on August 4. Facebook launched the workshop in partnership with the Philippine Embassy, Philippine Overseas Labor Office, and the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration. The learning modules cover safeguarding online privacy, safety and security, how to engage in respectful digital discourse, and being aware and responsible of digital footprints. The event is part of Digital Tayo, a digital literacy and citizenship program that aims to reach 1 million Filipinos by the end of 2020. Philippine Ambassador to Singapore Joseph Del Mar Yap welcomed the opportunity to work with Facebook in empowering OFWs with knowledge and tools to help them connect with their families back home and contribute to their communities. The Digital Tayos training modules will be incorporated in partner OFW organizations' regular trainings and community events in Singapore. The organizers are looking to bring these workshops to other OFWs employed in the Middle East and Hong Kong later this year. Filipinos there who are interested in participating in the trainings may get in touch with the Philippine Embassy, Polo, or partner OFW organizations. For those who would like to take an interactive digital literacy course, they can visit www.digitaltayo.fb.com or find out more about Facebook's partnership with OFW through the OWA website. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Gigi Arcilia Agtay.
The World Mission Society Church of God student volunteer group called ASUS will be holding a mural painting and cleanup on Sunday, August 11, 2019. This will be held at the E. Pantaleon Street, Barangay Malanday, Valenzuela City. The group aims to reduce crime hotspots and turn it into zero-crime zones. Those who wish to be part of this activity may contact them at telephone number 576-8045. Once again, phone number 576-8045. About 18,000 families were affected by monsoon rains enhanced by Typhoon Hana. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council said the affected families are in regions 1, 3, and Mimaropa. 16 houses were damaged and around 553 families are being aided inside and outside 24 evacuation centers. NDRRMC added that some 1.6 million pesos worth of assistance has been provided to the affected families. Meanwhile, over 2,000 passengers and over 300 sea vessels were reported stranded in Calabarzon, Region 4B, and Regions 5 and 7. Let's now check out the weather outlook for the rest of the country. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories.
The Philippine National Police urges leftist groups to answer allegations of parents that they are recruiting minors. President Duterte says he's open to use the controversial Dengvaxia vaccine to stop the dengue epidemic in the country. The Chinese embassy expresses concern over violations of rights of Chinese nationals in the proposed pogo hub for foreign workers. And over 18 families are reported to be affected by incessant monsoon rains.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And before we start our weekend, remember, there is no formula for success. Only passion and perseverance lead to success. And that's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day.